Hello guys, and welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making dumplings, also known as gyozas. Dumplings are these little kind of pastry things. They're kind of like Chinese ravioli. It's common that you get them pan-fried, steamed, and sometimes boiled. My favourite method is pan-fried because you get them nice and crispy and caramelized, and the texture is crunchy. I've been experimenting over the last couple of years with making dumplings at home, buying a wrappers already made and making them, and even trying frozen dumplings. My favourite way so far is to make them from scratch. They're tastier, cheaper, and also a fun activity to make with your friends and family at home. My love for dumplings began when I was living in Australia around 6 years ago. I would go to a dumpling house and have Chinese vegetable dumplings nearly every day. At one point, I think I ate 25 vegetable dumplings in one sitting. For the last few years, I've been experimenting with making dumplings at home, and finally I've got the texture and the flavour, and I'm satisfied that they're, I want to say it, just as good as the ones I had in Melbourne those years ago. So I want to share with you how I get these restaurant quality dumplings in this video. Let's go. So first we're going to make the dumpling dough. So we're going to need all-purpose flour. We're going to add salt, some warm water, and vegetable oil. Give it a good mix with the spoon until the liquid has disappeared, and then you can get in with your hands and give it a kind of squeeze to incorporate all the ingredients. When everything's more or less incorporated, you can get it out onto the bench and begin to knead it. I'm making sure that I get all the little crumbs to avoid wastage and to keep the recipe nice and accurate. Then you can start to knead it on the bench. After around 3 to 5 minutes, you can rest it under a towel for about 5 minutes. Then take the towel off and then go again as you were before, kneading the dough for around another 5 minutes. When the dough is ready, you should be able to push your finger in and see a little bit of spring back, but not too much. That shows that the dough is nice and ready and the gluten has been activated. Whack it in a bowl, place a damp tea cloth over the top and leave it to rest for around an hour. Now we're going to be making our filling. You want to cut the Chinese cabbage relatively thin, but not too thin. It's not necessary to cut it too thin because we're going to be salting the cabbage, as you can see. And what this is going to do, it's going to start to release liquid from the cabbage and soften it. I've cooked these dried shiitakes for around 20 minutes until they're soft. Then you want to chop them up into small pieces to put them into the filling. These will add a lovely meaty texture. So the cabbage has been salted and resting for around 5 minutes. When you come back to it and give it a squeeze, you'll see that a nice amount of liquid will be released. Now we're going to mix all of the ingredients for a dumpling filling in a bowl. Now the filling's nice and done, we're going to go back to the dumpling dough, which has been resting for around 30 minutes, and chop it into little sausages. Roll out the sausages with your hands, as if you're making gnocchi, and then chop them into 10-gram pieces. Then cover them with a damp cloth until you're ready to work with them. Now we're going to make these pieces into rounds. Rounding them will make them a lot easier to roll out with the rolling pin. It's going to increase our chances of them being nice and circular. Cover them again with a damp cloth until you're ready to roll them out. When you're rolling out the dumpling initially, you want to use a generous amount of flour, but not too much. Using the middle of the rolling pin, you should be able to get a nice even circle, being sure to rotate the dumpling as you roll it out to keep it nice and even. You're aiming for a 1 to 2 millimeter thickness. So now we've got our dumpling sheets. You want to take one and put around a big tablespoon of dumpling filling in the middle. The first method that I'm showing you here is the easiest way for me to wrap the dumplings. There are many ways, but I'm going to show you a couple. So this second way is the way that I prefer to roll out the dumplings. You want to do a nice pinch in the middle and then begin to pleat the sides. It's a movement that you can see, and it can still be quite tricky to actually get the technique down, but it takes practice. So with some practice, you'll get it down. So the dumplings are nice and pretty and ready to be fried. As I mentioned earlier, my favourite way of cooking dumplings is to pan fry them. So you want to get a hot pan on a heat with a little bit of oil to make sure the dumplings don't stick. Add the dumplings to the pan. When you add them to the pan, they should start to sizzle slightly. Press them down a little bit firmer to make sure that they caramelize evenly. A minute later, go in with a 1/4 cup of water and whack the lid on immediately to stop the steam from escaping. I checked here to see if the dumplings were ready, but they weren't. The dumplings are ready when there's no more water left inside the pan, as you can see in this part of the video. I add a little bit of olive oil to stop the dumplings from sticking. This allows you to release them with no problems and with a nice crispy base. Look at those dumplings. This is the perfect consistency. So now I'm going to coat the dumplings with my favourite, which is chili sauce. You can find the recipe in the description below. Dumplings are not dumplings without a vinaigrette or a tamari dumpling sauce. So I'm going to leave a recipe in the description below. So here we are. Finally the taste test is looking fantastic. So I'm going to dunk one in the tamari sauce. And I think I'm going to do this in one bite. Yeah. Perfect consistency. Crispy on the outside, but not dry at all. And they kind of, they don't fall apart in your mouth, so that's not exactly true, but they're very soft on the inside, which is pleasant, because sometimes you can cook the dumplings in such a way that they're dry. The shiitakes give a nice meaty texture. The sauce, the tamari sauce, is sweet and sour. The chili sauce gives that kick, which is key for those that love chili. And yeah, this is there's nothing quite like it. Absolutely delicious. Okay, leave me. I'm gonna eat another plate of these. I'll see you in a minute. Make these lovely homemade dumplings just as good as restaurants at home now. So if you like this video, give me a comment down the bottom, like and subscribe to my channel, because there's plenty more where that came from. Thank you so much. See you soon.